Morning folks, in the hills today. I was up and about early. I was up at 4 o'clock, on the road by past. I'm in the Borders Hills. That's the market town of Moffat behind me. Heading up onto the high ground to escape these bugs. Let's keep going. I'm up onto the ridge now and the sun's getting a bit stronger, so I'm hoping that the heat is going to clear the bugs for me. Doesn't seem to be any breeze. I thought I might get a breeze when I hit the ridge, but it's pretty calm. I'm quite hungry. Up early on the road. A fair bit of hiking to get this far, but I can't stop here. I wouldn't enjoy my breakfast, so I have to keep going for a wee while longer. And see if we can find a place to stop, have a bite to eat. Let's go! Well, finally seem to have left the bugs behind. A glorious morning. Birds are singing, sun shining. That's where I'm heading there, these hills on the distant horizon there. I'm going to go across to these hills and then I'm going to bend to the left as you're looking at it, to the north, by way of the compass, and I'm going to go up to the highest point in this area and then I'll see what I'm going to do after that. My original plan this morning was to drive down to the wee market town of Moffat that I showed you earlier and then spin through that to Capergill or Capergill, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, to the Black Hope Burn, and then I could have left the car there and climbed up and done a circuit of the hills that go around the high ground above the burn, and that would have taken me to the highest point as well with a wee deviation. But when I got further down the road there was a big barrier up saying road closed, so I guess it's resurfacing works or something. So I had to spin back into Moffat, and then I knew about a wee lane that came up and delivered me to the bottom of this broad ridge. So it's a bit of a longer walk and it's a bit messier because I can't really do a circuit. I'm going to have a look at the map later on and see if I can do a little bit of a circuit. I'd prefer that to out and back, but I think at some point today I'm going to have to retrace my steps. Been up for about 4 hours, just after 8 o'clock in the morning now, so getting a wee bit peckish, but I've got the hills opening out in front of me, so they're encouraging me on. I'm going to hike on a little bit, find a nice spot, and then we'll stop and we'll have a cup of coffee and a wee bit breakfast. Breakfast time. I'm in need of some sustenance. I'm in special need of a cup of coffee. It's a nice breezy spot here, but I can see the mic waving about in the wind, so hoping you can hear me. Shouting at the camera again, trying to project my voice across to you. Jelly and peanut butter for breakfast. Struggling to find a circular route. I think it might have to be an out and back day today. If I do decide to come back the same way, it's quite important that I pick up this spot because I'm on a very broad slope here. Anyhow, the visibility is good. There'll be no problems today. It's just if I descend a little bit either side, if I descend a wee bit to the left, I would end up getting into forestry, and that might make for an unpleasant end to the day. Don't have my chainsaw with me. I was a bit wrong-footed by the road closure this morning. I was thinking I was going to have to backtrack and go up that ridge there, away to my right, to your left. And it's a nice enough walk, but it's not as bonny as this, and it wouldn't have been as good as the original plan, so I'm glad I remembered about this. I set off from Moffat Well. Anyhow, the route for the next couple of hours is clear enough. Follow the high ground. It's always a nice feeling. Right, I'm going to finish up my breakfast. I'll get back to you in a wee while. Well, that's my breakfast done. That was good. I was in need of that. Sorry, I'm watching the birds over your shoulder there. I've found the crumbs that I've left behind. Traces up a quad track here. I'm going to follow that up onto the high ground behind me, and then my summit is away over there, away to your left, my right. But it's easy going now. These are big rounded hills, and the hard work is getting up onto the ridges, and once you're up onto the high ground it's relatively straightforward. I've got a little bit of up and down, but I've not got any tremendous descents, so it'll be a fine day from now on. So we'll wander on, we'll get onto the high ground. I'll have the camera on here and there so you get an idea of where we are and what the terrain is like. My original plan was to go to the highlands, maybe do a tougher hill today, but the weather was grand over the borders and pretty awful over the north and especially the west, so it was an easy decision to get up early and come down here today. Anyhow, enough blethering. Let's get on with the task. Let's get up onto the high ground. Keep moving. Hey, it's warm. It's my destination. Over there someplace. I've got to go up the hill here though and round. Keep to the high ground. I'm approaching a boundary line. I think I'll go across to the boundary line and I'll follow it round. And then I may tuck in a little bit behind the obvious summit and come round, just sticking to the high ground. So I've mostly been pointing the camera in that direction. I'm on a broad ridge, and all the footage that I've filmed so far has been looking at the hill that I'm heading for. And this is looking northeast. So this is the other side of the ridge. It drops down. I mentioned the Black Hope Burn. That's down there. And so the plan was to come round this ridge that I'm on and then go round and over the top of there and drop down, and that's a horseshoe. And I could have parked my car at the opening of the horseshoe, if you like, where the burn comes out of this little enclosed glen. But like I say, the road was closed, so there was no way of getting there. So now my car is parked away back in that direction. And if I did my planned walk, I'd end up down there. Like I say, it's about 10 miles of road walking back to the car. And it seems the road is going to be a construction site, so not ideal. And although I'm going to end up on the summit of the biggest hill in this area, I think these are actually the finest hills, so slightly disappointed that I'm not going to go over them today, but I've been over them a couple of times before and I'm sure there'll be another opportunity. And sometimes, you know, the best place to appreciate a hill is not from the top of it, but from the hill opposite. So I'm getting a grand view of it as I'm walking along. Shall I zoom you in so you can have a wee look? Let me flip the screen round so I can see what I'm doing. So they're grand hills. Terrain's levelled off, and these border hills, you often have to go quite a long distance before you get a different view or a different type of terrain. But I'm up onto the plateau now and it feels different, the view is different. I like the big skies. Sometimes when you're in these hills and the view is not changing very much as you're marching along, if you look up, the sky is ever changing. There's always something to look at, and these hills are great for birds. I've had bird song pretty much all the way from the car this morning. It's a crow that's I don't know what it's doing in the background there. It's making a noise anyway. It's going up and down. Searching for something. So I'm probably, I guess I can't be much more than about 100 metres in elevation below the summit. But I'm still a good way back, probably close to 1 kilometre from the summit. But it's not going to take long now. I could do with losing a layer actually. I might do that. It's a cool breeze, but the sunshine's warm. I think these birds are just enjoying the day, enjoying the freedom of flight, I think. Okay, upwards and onwards. Here we are. We stop here for a wee bit of early lunch. It's actually still quite early. But I've worked up a bit of an appetite, so look forward to a wee break. Cup of coffee. Another sandwich maybe. And you get some coffee on the go. I've been blethering away at the camera for the last 5 minutes, and then I realised it wasn't focusing on me, it was focusing on something over there. So I suspect the footage will be hit by the delete button when I get home. I was talking a wee bit about my options, and I'm sort of on the end of a limb here. I'll have a look at the map later, but I think the obvious thing to do is to retrace my steps, and then maybe towards the end of my walk, when I get closer to the market town of Moffat, I might be able to deviate from my morning's route and find another way back. I'm not sure. I can see my intended route stretching out before me, which actually, It would have been a shorter walk than the one that I'm probably going to end up doing. Anyhow, I'm not complaining. I've had a grand day so far, and I've still got a lot of walking to look forward to. I'm on a boundary line. You can probably make out the fence behind me. It's a bit of an intrusion actually when you're walking the hills in good weather, but in mucky weather, when the cloud is down, the boundary lines, if they're marked, they can be quite useful. Well, if they're going in the direction that you want to go. Last time I was over this hill, it was particularly mucky weather. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. It was a day looking at the compass, trying to figure out where I was. And the first time I did it, which is many years ago now, I was coming back from a meeting. I had a meeting down in southwest Scotland, and I was on my way back, heading north, summertime. And I parked the car a few miles over there at the high point on the road above the Devil's Beef Tub, and I jogged my way over here. I got here at about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. Bit more relaxed today. No jogging required. Dig out my other sandwich, have my coffee, and I'll get back to you after lunch. Had my lunch, finishing up my coffee here. You hear that buzzing noise? It's wasps. There's a lot of them. There must be a wasp's nest somewhere. They're not bothering me, so I won't bother them. Let them be. I'm guessing it's in the wee shelter somewhere in these stones. Hope I'm not sitting on it. You know, a lot of people from the Highlands and from the central region of Scotland, they talk about this entire area as the Scottish borders. But in fact, I'm not in the Scottish borders. Oops. What was I saying? The wasps are not bothering me? I'm just landed on me. Landed on my glasses. I'm actually in Dumfries and Galloway. And borders region is... I mentioned earlier that that's a boundary line. Well, that's the boundary. So, borders region's over there. Just a stone's throw. I think. Shall we test it? Yeah, The Borders is just a stone's throw. South of here the land drops and flattens, so we're on the edge of the hill country. Excuse me. This hill's actually a Corbett, it's called Hart Fell. And I climbed 3 other listed hills, 3 either Donalds or Donald Tops, I think they are. Nethercoon Craig, Swap Fell and Falcon Craig, I think are the names. I've shown you my maps before. Let me see if I can get over there. Can you see that? I think I'll have to hide in behind it, otherwise it'll focus on me. I don't know if that focused in on you or not. Focused in for you. But these green blobs are Donalds or Donald Tops. I've not actually completed my Donalds, I've still got a few to do, not many. But I've done all of these ones, actually I've done most of these several times over. So you might be wondering why I'm sitting up here again rather than going off and bagging some new hills, but to be quite frank, the ones that I've got left to do are not very exciting for me. Some of them are just over the back there, but there's a wind farm on them. It's not really my idea of a day out. So there's a fair chance that I'll never finish the Donalds. I think I'm done with hill lists. You maybe noticed that there's been a bit of aeroplane noise today. We're on the flight path. A lot of the aeroplanes coming up from the south, from London, heading north to Edinburgh and Glasgow probably. I think this is the corridor. Although that sounds like a wee plane. The yellow mark that you might have glanced at the top of the map there is a bothy. It's not, I think I mentioned before that my maps are marked up in a sort of pinky red colour for the Monroes, orange for the Corbetts, yellow for the Grahams, and I think that's the first time I've introduced you to the greens, the Donalds, the border hills. And then a sort of browny colour for the sub 2,000 foot Marylands, and then the wee silvery colour for my own hills, unlisted hills that are just attractive to me, have caught my attention. Anyway, the yellow on this is, I also use yellow for bothies, which is maybe a wee bit confusing, but it's yellow with a blue circle round it. I quite like marking up the maps because at a glance you can see places that you've been, and it helps just with a quick orientation. Anyway, the Bothy, Games Hope Bothy, had a lovely night in there. Had a night in there with Mo. Shout out Mo. She's at work today. Do you remember that, Mo? stripping off, and the boys commenting on your peely wally legs. There's a river crossing to get in. She didn't strip off completely. Just rolling her trousers up. I've been sitting here for quite a long time. Time to pack up and move. I was saying earlier that the wasps don't seem to be bothering me, but they are now. I think they're telling me it's time to go. Buzzing around my head now. So I'm going to switch the camera off, have a bit of me time on the way down, and then I'll check in with you either back at the car or on the lower slopes. I've got about 10k to go, which sounds quite a long way, but in fact it's not too bad. Wee bit of up, but mostly down. And it'll be interesting to see how this video turns out. My channel, Dave Outdoors Scotland, focuses obviously on the outdoors, fishing, camping, canoeing, kayaking, bit of biking, but actually my main outdoor activity is the hills. And I don't film very much of that, mostly because I struggle to see whether the footage might be of interest to people. So this is a wee bit of a trial, to be honest, just to see if one of these day hikes yields any footage that is in any way interesting. So I'll probably upload it and then we'll see what happens. I seem to have spent quite a lot of time sitting here by the Trig Point just blethering away, so I hope you forgive me for that. I'm going to escape these wasps, get my gear in the rucksack and shoulder the pack, get down the slope. I wasn't going to film on the way down, but I just thought the light was quite nice. So I dug out the camera, thought I'd share this view with you. The cloud is building, the light's softer now. That wind that you can hear is coming from the north, it's bringing a weather front down, so there's going to be rain probably late afternoon or early evening here. But the cloud has just softened the light, and with the cotton grass I just enjoyed the view, so I thought let's share it. Anyhow, we better keep going. I'm back at the car, got the boots off, just about ready for the run up the road. It was a grand walk today, hope you enjoyed it. Like I was saying further up on the hill there, I don't normally film many of my hill trips, but I'm going to give it a go, see how we get on, see if people are enjoying them. So thanks for joining me folks, it's much appreciated. And hopefully it won't be too long till we get out again. Well, take care. Bye for now.